What's up, everyone? Welcome back to After the Storm. This is the Canes game review for game number 24 of the season. A 4-2 win against the Winnipeg Jets. In introing this game, we only have a few things to go over. It was pretty rudimentary. Jordan Martinook not on the road trip after sustaining an injury in the previous game. Freddie Anderson back in the net for Carolina, facing Connor Hellebuyck, the former Vezina Trophy winner. And Ethan Bear and Seth Jarvis had a bit of like a homecoming on the road. Bought a bunch of tickets. I think Jarvis said there was upwards of like 100 people there. His family was in the building. An awesome thing to see, of course. A great showcase for Jarvis to be able to go back into Canada and play, and for Ethan Bear as well, getting to play close to home. So both guys having a bit of a home game on the road of sorts. A very quiet first period here, but we'll go over it quick. I'll be honest, I watched this period on delay the next day because I was late getting home, and I just watched from the second period on and rewatched the first. So there's not a ton here on it, but of course the early start, Svechnikov, two great chances. Puck finds its way back to the point. Slavin walks the line, gets a shot off. He made a nice deke too, got a shot away. It might have been tipped by Jordan Staal. I haven't actually double checked who got credit for this goal. Looked like it might have hit Stahl's stick, but I'm not exactly sure. Regardless, it is 1-0 early on for the Canes. And pretty much this whole period would be dominated by Carolina. Just the whole first 5-minute segment of the game was just chance after chance after chance. Hellebuyck really keeping his team in it. Aho takes the first penalty of the night. Winnipeg heads to their first power play. Carolina kills this one off rather easily. Towards the end of the period, Aho a great chance after he comes out of the box on that penalty. Ethan Bear a great chance as a puck gets centered into him in the slot. He takes a great shot. Hellebuyck, big save there. Stepan throws the rebound just wide. And that ends the period 1-0 Carolina as we head into the second. And opening up the second period, an Aho stuff chance ends up in the net. Jalen Chatfield, as I mispronounce his name hilariously, with a nice point shot. Aho gets the rebound. Winnipeg would challenge for goaltender interference on the play. It did appear to an extent that Aho kind of pushed Hellebuyck in, but again, this is one of those that's a very gray area on this one. It's called a good goal. Winnipeg's assessed to delay a game penalty, and Carolina heads to their first power play of the game. But very quickly into that one, Trocheck takes a hooking call, very weak on that one, complained to the ref, but ultimately it goes nowhere, and the Canes power play ends there. Again, this is one thing that you're getting very they're doing it a lot, and it really is annoying. But there's so many stick infractions by this team that they got to figure out a way to clamp these all down before the playoffs, because it's going to really start costing them. And on the 4-on-4, Schmidt with a great chance. Freddie would make a great save on that one, but just a little bit later, Stastny over to Ehlers, a snipe past Frederik Andersen, and it's a 2-1 hockey game. Winnipeg would head to a 33-second power play. Carolina kills that one off. Aho loses his skate blade on a play, crashes hard into the boards. I was worried he was injured on this one. He was okay, though, just a little bit of a crash into the boards, and then had to hobble his way across the ice. Then a centering, and this is maybe one of the weirdest calls. There was a lot of weird calls in this game, but I'm going to go with Ian Cole here for a bit, because he's a player I think does require some criticism after this game. On this play, though, I don't really know. But the puck gets passed out into the slot. Cole's down. The puck ends up underneath him. It doesn't, to me at least, maybe I'm missing something on the broadcast here. Or maybe I'm missing something overall. Because to me, this didn't look like Cole intentionally held the puck in. Like, he didn't move his arms inwards. He didn't grab it with his hand and pull it into himself. I don't know if he genuinely knew where the puck was on this play. And he gets called for a delay of game penalty. We're going to come to the officials anyways. Started here. We'll come back to it later. But again, this is just a stupid call, and I don't know how you make this call, because I've seen this happen where players will specifically do this, hold the puck. We've watched guys who do this in the corners and lay down on pucks at the end of games. Those are never delay a game penalties, so why is this one? So my assertion that this is all made up on the fly for this for the officials and for this league. Again, it's just the prime example of it all in this game. Jets get their third power play of the game, easily killed off again by Carolina. The Jets are having no success on the power play. Carolina's kill is just too much for them. Cole comes out of the box and right back into it, and this is where his game really started to turn in this one. Jets to their fourth power play. And on this one, Pierre-Luc Dubois with a really nice, nobody talked about it out of this game. Between the legs deflection on a pass coming into the slot just in front of Freddie. A perfect deflection underneath the blocker, over the pad, inside the post. A beautiful goal from Pierre-Luc Dubois here, and we're tied 2-2. Toward the end of the period, though, Morrissey takes a cross-checking penalty, sending Carolina back to the power play. And on the power play there, Martin Necas, a scramble of a chance on this play. Tons of chances. Hellebuck is diving all over the place. Necas corrals the puck, gets it into the net. He scores 3-2. Carolina leads toward the end of the period with just seconds left on the clock, and that's how the second period would end. Carolina has a 3-2 lead heading into the third and final period. And to open up the third period, not a great start for Winnipeg here. Adam Lowry gets a holding penalty, sending Carolina back to the power play. And for the second time in as many chances, Vincent Trocheck, power play goal, Canes lead 4-2. And maybe one of the nicest saves we'll see from Frederik Andersen all season. He's made a handful already. But this one, Ehlers gets a shot. Dubois gets a tip or a rebound on this one. The puck is literally on the goal line, and Andersen gets his leg back and pulls it off with his pad. Beautiful save, keeping it at 4-2. And then Ian Cole caps off his brilliantly bad performance in this one by kneeing Mark Scheifele. I know if you're watching this, you're probably thinking that didn't deserve a 5. And I would probably agree with that. It probably didn't deserve a 5-minute major penalty in a game misconduct for the hit, considering, Scheifele laid on the ice until it was convenient for him to get up. Mark Scheifele's a whole nother story, and I'm not even going to bother getting into that, but that is not a good guy. Nevertheless, the scrum ensues. They review the penalty. Again, it is kneeing. Cole did make an attempt to try to get the hit off. He tried to change his angles. But at the same point, even with all of that considered, it is still a kneeing penalty. It's still a dangerous play. And I'm glad it got penalized. Not for 5 minutes. I think that's more of a 2, considering Scheifele popped right back up. But ultimately, these are the kind of hits we want to get away from the game. My issue with all this, though, is considering on Sunday night what an absolute tire fire of a reffing performance that the NHL allowed, I shouldn't say NHL allowed, but that occurred in Winnipeg with Winnipeg-Toronto. Spezza with the ridiculous hit on Neil Pionk. Pionk with the kneeing hit on Sandin that preceded it. Don't you think at some point you guys need to figure out this officiating shit? I don't swear too often, but I'm at my wit's end with this league and dealing with this stuff. It just, they don't know what they're calling it. There's no precedence. There's no anything. And then yesterday, today's Thursday, Kane's playing a few hours here. Yesterday, Cole gets the fine, and it's $5,000 or whatever it is. And it's just a showing of how little this league knows about what it's doing with itself. There's no precedence. There's no way of doing punishment. They don't have a way of setting infraction-based punishment, I think is the word the verbiage I used. Infraction-based punishment. Punishment based on the penalty. If you're assessing a kneeing call and it's a major, there needs to be a precedence of here is how it's going to be penalized. But right now they just don't have that. And it shows that from a case-to-case basis, it's wildly different. We see Tom Wilson drive a guy's head and pull his hair, drive his head into the ice last year and really try to hurt a player. And nobody cares. They just fine him. Or they suspend him 2 games or 1 game or whatever the hell it is. And then you have Neil Pionk with a dangerous hit on Rasmus Sandin 2 nights prior, and then this kneeing call, and you don't even call them remotely the same way. Pionk didn't get the penalty on the play. Cole did. And then Pionk doesn't get a suspension or a fine, but Cole does. It doesn't make sense. One was not worse than the other, and I'm pretty steadfast in that opinion. They are both equally as bad kneeing penalties. They're both equally as bad hits on each player. At some point, they're really going to have to figure this out because it takes away from so many games. Anyways, back to the game. Cole, 5-minute major, game misconduct. Winnipeg heads to a 5-minute power play. And for 5 minutes, the Winnipeg Jets could do nothing. And that honestly warmed my heart. Because I've mentioned this on Twitter as well, I don't really have a hatred for teams. I find it very, very difficult to hate teams, like hate a whole organization. I love a rivalry. I love hating on a team, I should say. But the Winnipeg Jets are creeping into this territory because not only, and let me be clear here as well, like I mentioned Tom Wilson earlier in this video, and Tom Wilson's a player I hate. Like, I don't like Tom Wilson. I'm not sure if I actually hate him, but I really don't like Tom Wilson. I don't like what he does in this league as a hockey player, and like there's like other guys that fit into that a little bit. Brad Marchand's not a guy I like much, but there's still a level of respect I can apply to some players and the team that they play for. But the Jets are just this. This is what they are. This is what their organization is. Wheeler, Scheifele, it used to be Bufflin. It used to be a number of guys. Their core. Their core of their team. This is how they want to be. And it just shows. Like on this play where Scheifele gets hit, I mean, I know I'm going back to the Cole hit now, but he just stays down until it's convenient for him to get up and then go join a scrum. Like, how is that not penalized? You just sat down on the ice like your knee was shattered and then you got up like nothing. Honestly, I talked about it. I can't really hate teams, but Winnipeg is creeping into that territory, and Mark Scheifele is a player like Tom Wilson, like Brad Marchand, that I just cannot stand. So it warms my heart that the Canes killed a 5-minute penalty like it was absolutely nothing against this team. Hellebuck pulled with 3 minutes to go. Carolina with a few chances at the empty net. Couldn't get any of them to go. I think Nikolai Ehlers is the player I'm going to highlight for the Jets as well. I don't hate everybody on the Jets, don't get me wrong. There's a few players I really, really do like on the Jets. But ultimately, Ehlers, great defensive play to deny one of the goals. Time runs out on the Winnipeg Jets. Carolina wins 4-2 on the road. So let's go ahead and get in some player analysis here. Starting off with the good, Sebastian Aho, probably he had struggled in the last few games. I think I talked about that on these videos, is he had a really bad stretch for Sebastian Aho with like 2 games. But he'd had a pretty rough 2 games, especially the one, I think there was one in Dallas that he really struggled. Maybe the Ottawa one as well. But ultimately, yeah, just a really great game from him. Nietzsche's had a great game. I think Svech was in there too, but Nietzsche's was the other one I highlighted. Man, this guy can skate. I think that's such an underrated aspect of his game, is he's so good at skating. The average player for the game in this one, I had Freddie. I just think he didn't have a strong game, but it was enough to get the win. Carolina's kind of becoming a team that ends up in a lot of these games where they're giving up very little shots, but still allowing a few goals here and there. Their defensive play is pretty solid most nights, and I think what happens is a grade A chance or 2 leak through, and that's what ends up beating Freddie most times. They played really well. Freddie had a fine game, just not great. Bad player in this one, I had Ian Cole. Again, I think he took 3 penalties even before the major penalty. I hate the kneeing play. As much as you can call it unintentional or whatever, it's a play I don't like to see at all. Yeah, I don't like it at all. It was really heavily defended by like Trip Tracy and everybody. I just don't feel like defending these types of plays anymore. I don't feel like trying to find a gray area. Back to Cole though, just a bad performance from him. Penalties galore. The kneeing penalty, just an awful night for him. He really could have cost the Carolina Hurricanes an easy 2 points in this game. And the reason I highlight that, even though it's easy to just be like, whatever, we won. When the games do get close, and they will get close, whether it's later this season, whether it's in the playoffs at the end of April, this is the type of player that will cost you. I like Ian Cole a lot, and he's won 2 Stanley Cups, and he's been there and back again. He's a fantastic guy to have in this room, but if he's going to be playing like this, he needs his minutes very sheltered. And for the Jets, I'm going to highlight Nikolai Ehlers, one of the most elite players around hockey. This guy is so good at skating, so good at shooting, so good at passing, thinks the game very well. Probably one of my favorite players to watch around the league. And I've been watching him since he was in junior. I remember him being on a line with like Bjorkstrand and somebody else. I can't remember who the other one is at this time. But these 3 players made up this great line for Team Denmark. at a Olympics once, or not Olympics, a World Juniors once, and they were the funnest team to watch. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button down below if you liked the video today. Subscribe to the channel if you want more Canes content or video game content. Check around the channel. There's a ton of stuff coming to the channel every week. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one.